Give me a minute. I want to talk about the guys from the podcast Ukraine the Latest also do a series called Defense in Depth. And the episode that was published today is April the 12th, 2024. The episode published today is worth watching by everybody out there, everybody that's interested and concerned about this war. And I'm going to highlight three areas that they highlighted, but very briefly, not with the kind of expertise and in-depth analysis that they did. But it's worth mentioning because, look, we make fun of the Russians a lot on this channel, right? Because there's so much to make fun of them for. Like yesterday, right? The stolen tank that the Ukrainians stole, the T-72B3. Or the drunk Russian driving the electronic warfare system, and he takes a turn too sharp in Rostov-on-Don and rolls the $12 million unit. I do love that shit. Don't get me wrong. But the point that the guys over on Defense in Depth made is that the Russians are learning, and it should worry all of us. And I couldn't agree more. And so they highlighted a couple of areas. I'm going to highlight three areas that I think it's important to understand where the Russians are getting ahead. The first is glide bombs. These things are just dumb bombs, so they're cheap to produce. You stick some wings on them, and you stick a GPS on them, and now all of a sudden, they can get to their target. And there's no way to shoot them down. They don't have a heat signature. They don't have, they're not a cruise missile, right? They're not, the normal ways that we would shoot these down do not apply. And because they're cheap, the Russians are producing them at scale. Avdiivka was lost because of these glide bombs. With as many as 250 of them striking Avdiivka in 48 hours one time. So glide bombs are a real problem. Next, the Surovikin lines. Now, Surovikin, of course, is under house arrest because he was a guy that actually knew what he was doing. And we can't have competence in the Russian army, so he's under house arrest now, sitting back in Moscow, which is good for the Ukrainians, not so good for the Russians, because he gave them a defensive posture that thwarted the Ukrainian counteroffensive last summer. Let's be honest, right? It did. It slowed it down or held it up badly. Now, what's a Surovikin line? Well, it's a defense-in-depth strategy. You got dragon's teeth, tank traps, trenches, and of course, landmines. Lots and lots of landmines. Ukraine is now one of the most mined countries in the world, and it makes a difference. You can't just drive your tanks through there and push the enemy back because everything goes kaboom. So glide bombs and the Surovikin lines are all examples of Russia learning and adapting. But neither of them comes close to the third innovation. The homegrown Lancet drone, which is being mass-produced inside of Russia, just in the same way that we've seen the Ukrainians innovate drone technology, the Russians gave us the Lancet. And they're under sanctions. The Western components that are in this thing, they shouldn't be able to get, and yet they keep pumping these out. So the enforcement of Western sanctions is failing in numerous areas. And this is one of them. So it's important to recognize, I think, that while lots of the Russian system is incompetent, even under the most trying circumstances, they are learning, they are innovating, and all of it is to unalive Ukrainians. Further to that, they have the unconditional support of their partners, Iran and North Korea, two of the worst countries on earth, right? Just the nightmares, the enemies of civilization. But you know what they're doing that we're not? They're coming through for their ally. They regularly deliver weapons. They regularly supply the Russians. And it's making a difference. The United States has got to fix this problem with its foreign aid. We have got to figure something out to get around Moscow Mike. Because right now is the hard time. The Russians are advancing slowly. It's costing them a lot. But we saw strikes against infrastructure this week. We saw hypersonic missiles get through. The only reason they did is because the Ukrainians are running out of air defense. And there's only one place to get it, from their partners. Are you telling me the United States and Europe aren't as good of partners to Ukraine as fucking Iran and North Korea are to Russia? That's the situation we're in. And it's untenable. Untenable. I want to thank Dark Irish, who is the sponsor of this video. Dark Irish joined the Patreon at the Dobrovicher level, and as such, he gets a video sponsorship every month. If you would like a video sponsorship, you can join the Patreon too at the Dobrovicher level or higher, and I will thank you the way that I thank Fitz. Thanks, Dark Irish. I appreciate it, man. Take care.